In yesterday's video, we spoke about who the worst team in the Championship was, but today let's flip the script. We're going to be taking a closer look at those sides at the top of the Championship, and specifically, who's the most realistic candidate to win the title this season. I do think we have some quality sides at the top end of the Championship this season, and I'd love to know from you guys in the comments down below. Who's your title favourite right now, and out of those sides in and amongst the title race, who do you see going up as the top two? Because after the weekend of action we've just had in the Championship, this is how the league table now shapes up after the majority of sides in the league have played 18 matches. So we've got Sheffield United at the top of the table, obviously worth considering the Blades were working with a -2 point deduction before a ball had been kicked, so technically they've accumulated 40 points so far this season, which is 4 more points than any other side has managed. We've then got the likes of Burnley, Leeds, Sunderland, Middlesbrough and Watford making up the remainder of the top 6. Now, when we're talking about title contenders, for the purposes of this video, I'd say we're probably talking about the top 5 in the Championship. I know that Middlesbrough and Watford are on the same amount of points right now, both on 30. I'm not sure that Watford have the squad quality to go the full distance to compete for a place in the top 2 this season, but they're a really strong cause for a place in the top 6 this year, and I think that Tom Cleverley is actually doing one of the most underrated jobs in the EFL right now. Majority of us had Watford down to be strugglers this season. They're well in the hunt for the top 6, but I think for the purposes of this video, we're going to be looking at the teams currently situated in the top 5. I think these 5 sides all have probably the best squads in the Championship, some of the best players and managers. And amongst the bookies' odds right now as well, these top 5 are by far the favourites to go on and be promoted this season as well. If you want to see a separate video where we discuss the race for the top 6, do drop a like on this video. But we're going to be analysing these 5 sides in a little bit more detail in today's video, looking at some underlying stats and seeing how they all rank against one another. Starting out with the XG numbers, we always love to look into these on the channel, as you may know. And up until this point of the campaign, it is Middlesbrough and Leeds United who are by far out in front as the top 2 best creative sides in the division so far this season in terms of the quality of chances that they've accumulated after 18 matches. Both teams having accumulated an XG of over 30 goals. It's then quite interesting because you've got Sheffield United in mid-table at the moment in terms of their chance creation, and then you've actually got Sunderland and Burnley both as bottom half teams in terms of the chances they've created. Now, in fairness to Burnley, they have been gradually improving in this department as the season's gone on. A few weeks ago, Burnley were in the bottom 3, for example, in terms of chance creation this season. They've started to turn the screw on that recently. I think they've now scored 6 goals in their last 4 matches, so are starting to hit the back of the net a little bit more, starting to create a few more quality chances as well, and I expect they will continue to maybe gradually rise in this table as the season goes on. But certainly in terms of chance creation, Middlesbrough and Leeds are the 2 best sides in the Championship in this department. And that also stacks up with the amount of goals that those clubs have scored as well. It is Norwich who are the top scorers in the division right now, but Middlesbrough 2nd, Leeds 3rd, having both hit 30 and 31 goals this far into the campaign. This chart here, by the way, doesn't include any own goals that have gone a team's way. You then got Sunderland with 24, and then Sheffield United and Burnley next to each other here with 23 and 22 goals scored. Once again, Burnley have been starting to hit the back of the net on a little bit more of a regular basis in their recent matches. In the opening few months of the season, that was people's main frustration with Scott Parker's side, but it does feel like they're improving in that department. Sunderland, who had a really good start to the season, have dropped down this table in recent weeks. They have now failed to score in 4 of their last 6 league matches, obviously. Really frustrating one over the weekend, that loss against Sheffield United. Had Patrick Roberts hit the back of the net with his penalty, that could have been a completely different game of football, but those are the fine margins at the top end of the Championship. And then you've got a side like Sheffield United who, while they're not the most free-scoring team in the Championship, they have had a lot of 1 and 2-0 wins so far this season, and they're quite consistent at rolling out those results. Now, it's interesting in terms of how clinical every team in the Championship is. It's actually Leeds and Middlesbrough who have been the most wasteful out of the top of the table sides, if you will. They're the only teams in the top 5 who have actually underperformed their XG so far this season, which paints an interesting picture about those two. You've then got Sheffield United, Burnley and Sunderland who are actually overperforming their XG right now, showing how clinical some of their players have actually been in the final third. And then on the opposite end of the pitch, in terms of the chances that these teams have conceded so far this season, you might be quite surprised to learn that it's actually Leeds United who have been statistically the best team in the league at limiting the opposition. They've only conceded an XG of 13 so far this season, which is the best of any championship club. Burnley, who do boast the best defensive record in the league right now, are second in this statistic. You've then got Sheffield United, Middlesbrough and Sunderland making up the rest of the top 5. However, when it actually comes to goals conceded this far into the campaign, Burnley have been by far the best team in the championship in this department. 6 goals conceded after 18 matches is a freakishly good defensive record. At their current rate of conceding goals, they're only projected to concede 15 goals in this entire championship season, which is absolutely unheard of. Scott Parker's side have now kept 5 consecutive clean sheets in the championship, and say what you want about Scott Parker football being quite boring to watch from a neutral point of view, as we've seen before with his teams in the championship, he knows how to grind out results, and it feels like we're watching that unfold in front of our very eyes with Burnley right now. If they keep up that defensive record, it's hard not to see them making the top 2. Now, one thing that a champion needs to rely on is strong home form, and when it comes to Sheffield United, they've been by far and away the best team in the league so far this season when it comes to picking up points at home. This is the championship table, only taking into consideration home matches, and I mean, look at that record for the Blades. 9 games, 8 wins, 1 draw, 14 goals for, only 2 goals against at Bramall Lane this season. That's an absolutely unbelievable record for Chris Wilder's side. Of the sides in and around the top of the championship, they've all been pretty strong at home, to be honest with you. Leeds have won 7 of their 9 home matches, only losing 1. Sunderland and Burnley are yet to lose at home so far this season, but they've each had quite a few draws. Burnley's defensive record at home, by the way, is an absolute joke, like Sheffield United's, just 2 goals conceded in 8 matches. And it's probably been the home form, more often than not, that's let Middlesbrough down a little bit. They have lost 3 of their 10 home matches so far this season, so a lot more than the other sides they're battling with for automatic promotion. And once again, it's been the goals against that's been the real killer for them. They've scored 15 goals at home, but 11 against is a really killer statistic. Then on the flip side of that, this is the championship table if only away matches are taken into consideration. And you have to tip your hat to Scott Parker. Burnley have been the best away team in the championship this far into the campaign. 5 wins in 10 away matches is a really strong record, and if they manage to maintain that from now until the end of the season, they'll be on to a winner. Averaging 1.8 points per game on the road is a really strong record, and we've said it a few times on the channel. I almost think that the way Scott Parker likes to set up his Burnley side, they're almost more suited to the away matches they go into compared to when they're at Turf Moor a lot of the time, when their onus is on them a little bit more to be a little bit more ball dominant, break teams down who often come to Turf Moor and play in a deep block. I think Burnley are better playing in transition, and more often than not, they've got their rewards on the road for that. Sheffield United also been really strong on the road this season, as have Sunderland, Middlesbrough and Leeds, who are all in the top 6 for away form. But I think a lot of Leeds fans will highlight performance levels definitely haven't been the same at Ellen Road compared to on the road this season. Obviously, it was a frustrating one over the weekend as they lost against Blackburn. They had that mental box-to-box game, end-to-end one against Swansea recently on the road, didn't they? But Daniel Farke's side have also dropped points at Millwall and Bristol City of late as well. It does feel with Leeds in particular, there isn't quite that sense of inevitability like there is when teams go to Ellen Road compared to when they're actually the away team, and that's something that Daniel Farke obviously will need to tinker with. Now, in terms of recent form in the championship, taking every championship side's last 10 or so matches, it is Sheffield United who are the form team in the league right now. They've taken 22 points from their last 10 matches, averaging 2.2 points per game in that time. Leeds have also got a really strong record despite some of their blips on the road of late. 20 points from their last 10 games, that's 2 points per game. Burnley are just below 2 points per game right now at 19 points taken from their last 10 matches. Middlesbrough have had a few blips, 16 points from their last 10. And then the really frustrating side, from those bunch at the top of the Championship recently has been Sunderland, who have drawn 6 of their last 10 in the Championship. They had been on a really good unbeaten run going into the weekend, but lost that game against Sheffield United, which, I mean, to be honest, could have gone either way for the Black Cats. It does feel like a few injuries have hampered them recently. That suspension to Bellingham as well obviously hindered them for 3 matches as well, because it does look at the moment, especially with the way these 3 sides have been picking up points recently, the standard for automatic promotion, you need to be consistently picking up 2 points per game, realistically. And this December period, with how hectic it's going to be with the schedule and all the matches coming up, it's a decent chance to someone maybe to have a good run of form. Now, interestingly, in terms of the bookies odds, it is still Leeds United who are the favourites for the title this season at 8 to 11. Sheffield United the second favourites at 10 to 3. If I had to put money on it right now, I think I would probably be backing Sheffield United. I think they're the most consistent team in the league. Not many sides will walk away from Bramall Lane with many points this season. But it's interesting because I do think the race for the top 2 is still really open right now. You've then got Burnley, Middlesbrough and Sunderland, and then you've got a massive gap between Sunderland and everyone else really in terms of the odds. You know, Sunderland at 12 to 1, then West Brom the next favourites at 40 to 1. So I do think in terms of the top 2 this season, right now, we are probably looking at these 5 sides. But I'd be fascinated to know from you guys in the comments down below, who are your favourites for the title right now, and who would you be putting money on to finish inside the top 2? If I had to call it at this very moment, I'd have Sheffield United in my top 2, and then that other place, I'm really torn between Burnley and Leeds, to be honest with you. I don't think there's much to separate them. I think they've both got their strengths in different departments. I think January could be a big factor to separate those sides as well in terms of any potential in or outgoings. And then you absolutely can't afford to write off someone like Sunderland or even Middlesbrough, who I both think are capable of stringing together good runs of form as well. So do let me know in the comments down below who are your favourites to win the title this season and who you think has been the best team in the Championship so far this season. Get all your thoughts in the comments down below. Other than that though guys, thank you very much for tuning in and I'll see you all in the next one.